Hey everyone, I wanted to talk for a sec about learning to live in the moment. Not generally something people interested in frugality and personal finance are going to be talking about a lot, because I think people who often live too much in the moment might spend a little bit too much in the moment because they're not really worrying about the future and the consequences of their choices. For me, however, though, I for years and years have not lived in the present moment and have not really enjoyed the present moment because I'm always worrying about the future and having anxiety about the future and saving for the future and planning for the future and just in general having tons of anxiety about it, because ultimately I am the one in the family who's responsible for whether or not we sink or swim, which may mean that it wasn't the smartest choice for me to be the one to quit my job if I have that responsibility. But I did make that decision because the home life was falling apart and I felt like the family was falling apart and they needed me at home. And I just really think that there are a lot of other ways you can bring in income other than going to your anxiety-inducing 9-to-5 job. So what I'm trying to do really right now is learn to live in the moment and enjoy the moment and just live my life day by day, moment by moment, and not ruining my current present moment by always worrying about the future. And I think I've done that for a long time, and it can really mess up your life to do that and make your life really unenjoyable. And you only get one life, in my opinion, unless you believe in reincarnation, which I think Frugal Daddy kind of thinks he believes in reincarnation.
But you don't remember it anyway.
But you don't remember it anyway, so there you go. I remember even all the way back to college. I loved college. I just loved it. And I do feel bad in a way that I am probably Dartmouth's most unbelievably unsuccessful graduate ever. I do kind of feel like I let down the mighty name of Dartmouth. And if I had a lot of money, I would gladly and joyfully give the college lots and lots of money, but I don't, so I don't. But my senior year of Dartmouth, I was so sad that it was ending that I didn't enjoy the time I actually had. I spent so much time worrying about the future and thinking about not being there anymore that I didn't enjoy the time I actually had left. And that's really no way to go through life. You need to responsibly plan for the future and just not run your credit card bills up like crazy thinking, well, I need to have fun now while the fun's getting good and the future will take care of itself. That's really not responsible financially. But in other terms, spending so much time worrying about the future and having so much anxiety or sadness about what's to come or what's going to change or what you're going to lose, then you really just don't enjoy what you have now, which means you go through your life never enjoying the present moment. And I'm 54 and I'm old, and if you're 54 and I just called you old, you're not old. I just feel old at 54. You could be 80 and be a lot younger than I am. So I'm not saying every other 54-year-old is old, but I feel old, and I just feel like I've wasted so much time in my life not being happy. And of course, when I was younger, you go through the whole junior high mentality of worrying about what other people think of you and feeling like you're the biggest loser on the planet and thinking you'll always be alone and nobody will ever love you and you'll always die alone. And so, I don't know, do other people think about that? I've spent a lot of my life thinking that. And there's just no point. There's no point to spending one moment of your life hating yourself. And I'm sorry if I'm being loud right now, because I do perceive that I'm yelling at my phone, but we're on the highway and there's a lot of ambient noise and it's really, really windy out. So I don't know how much noise interference there is and how much I'm coming through. But what I really am trying to learn to do now is, although be responsible about the future, like I'm not just going to go spend all the savings we have and not worry about my kids' education and saving for college and being able to pay the mortgage down the road and all that. I mean, that's all still going to be there. I can't get rid of that. I can't live in the moment that much, but I really want to work on enjoying the present moment more and being present in my life and being present for that moment that I get to be in my children's lives. And anybody who has older children knows it goes in the blink of an eye. People with a newborn baby who are getting no sleep think, oh my God, this is torture. When will this ever end? Like, I can't even imagine a day when this child sleeps through the night and I sleep through the night and this torture of lack of sleep is over. But once you get past that little phase, it goes so fast, and it's so trite, and it's such a cliche, because people with older kids will always tell people with younger kids, oh, appreciate every moment and cherish it because it goes by so quickly. And people with young kids are like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Everybody says that, and it's so true. It goes in the blink of an eye. Your whole life goes in the blink of an eye. So you really need to enjoy and cherish the good moments that you have and focus on whatever positive you can. There's a lot of negative stuff in the world. There's a lot of negative stuff in every life that you cannot necessarily control. And all you can control is how you interpret it and respond to it. You know, and I know, I understand depression, and I understand mental illness, and I understand only being able to control your response just so much, given who you are and what you have to work with. But, you know, what happens in the world happens to everybody, and to some extent you've got to do whatever you can do to protect yourself and protect your psyche so that you can have some happiness and some contentment and some peace during this life, because this life is very, very short. Dead goes along for a very long time. Eternity is a long time. Once you're dead, that's a long time. When you're alive, it's not that long. And I don't want to waste any more time in my life hating myself or worrying about the future or regretting my mistakes of the past. I spent a lot of time regretting all the mistakes of my past. And it's important, of course, to learn from your mistakes. I don't think I learned from my mistakes all that well, because I repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again, but maybe eventually I'll learn, or I'll just become a hermit, and then maybe that will prevent me from making the same mistakes over and over again. I'm very drawn to the hermetic life, where I just half the time want to crawl up into a ball and get in bed and not leave my room. I think that's fair. My older daughter, who refuses to have anything to do with this YouTube channel, really believes that we have a duty to know what's going on in the world. And Frugal Daddy does too. He thinks we need to know what's going on in the world. It's somehow our duty so that we can respond appropriately and be responsible citizens and vote and do whatever. And I used to think that too. I thought I had a moral responsibility to know about every horrible thing that went on in the world, because somehow I felt that was all my responsibility. Like the weight of the world was always on my shoulders ever since I was a little kid, and I always felt it was my job to fix everything. And now I know I can't, and I don't want to know what's going on in the world. I don't want to know everything, because it just makes me really, really sad and kind of immobilizes me, and then I can't really get anything done, and I'm not good to anybody. So I don't want to know about all the badness in the world. I really don't want to watch the news. I don't want to know. I also don't want to know what celebrities are up to. I don't want to know what's in fashion. I've never understood fashion. Obviously, my older daughter, who refuses to be named publicly, the pretend older daughter I have, who really obviously doesn't exist, she says I dress like a homeless man. Well, I've never understood fashion. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I don't need to know. Like, my world it's got to get a little bit smaller for me to be able to manage it and just function as a mother and as a person in my household, trying to clean the house and get some meals cooked and get the walls painted and do whatever needs to be done. And so what I'm saying is, if the way you think about the world and the way you plan your future is such an obsession for you and causes you so much anxiety, then you need to do something to try to get rid of it and block some of that negativity out so you can enjoy the moment you have. Because although the future will come and that's gonna become a moment, all you really have is what's happening right now, and you deserve to have some kind of happiness right now. And that's what I'm thinking right now, and that's what I wanted to say. And I know you all think I never let frugal turn. You all think I never let Frugal Daddy talk, but I do. It's just that he pauses a lot, and I get impatient, and then I edit him out. And so
I'm trying to drive too.
You can talk and drive at the same time. The topic is living in the moment versus regretting the past versus anxiety about the future and whatever else. You want to talk about the highway and the traffic? Go ahead, whatever you want.
I agree with everything you said. I would add to it, though, that living in the moment is being aware of what's going on right now. And that is pretty much the secret to changing things, changing attitudes, keeping things going in the right direction. You wake up and you're on autopilot. If you're in a bad mood, you just keep getting in a bad mood and it keeps staying. At any moment, you can change that if you choose to. And I know it's hard, because it's hard for me. I've been trying to do it my whole life practically. But if you're aware that you are here and you have control of your thoughts, and that you are choosing through your subconscious or through conscious, you are choosing the next response to whatever stimulus that is happening. So if something is causing a bad time, like you were saying about the news and things, you hate the news. You can choose to watch it, you can choose to say, boy, that's interesting, or you can choose to shut it off. If you choose to sit and watch it, just out of habit, because that's what you did yesterday, you're probably going to feel terrible. Things are constantly built to go away. I was thinking of disintegrate, but the world is built on deterioration, right? Like everything.
Like chaos theory?
Everything deteriorates. Like, if you leave metal out, it's going to rust. You leave concrete out or anything, rocks, you leave them long enough and they're going to go away. Everything just it's in a downward spiral. We have to fight to get up, to keep your head above water, to keep yourself happy. I think negative is pretty much the way most people would go, given their own device. They're just letting things happen. You need to fight and consciously say, I'm going to be happy today, and I'm going to be happy in this moment. I'm going to be happy even though I just heard that news, or that just happened to me. I'm not saying to stick your head in the sand, but you can choose to be happy.
I kind of want to put my head in the sand. Like, I just get to the point where I can't take it anymore. I think, my therapist told me that I feel things more strongly than most people do. And my dad always kind of told me that too, because a lot of my reactions, my emotional reactions to things are hyper intense given the situation. And maybe not necessarily what a reasonable person would think or do or say or react, which I understand, because I know sometimes when I'm upset and I'm flying off the handle about something, there is a part of my mind that's going, what the hell's wrong with you? It's not that big a deal. Like, rein it back in. But I know that about myself, and so I have to be maybe more careful about what information I let into my world. And I don't know if you have that same kind of sense of responsibility for everything. No. But I kind of feel like, I don't know why, but I'm responsible for everything. And I don't know if there's a link. I mean, this is going to be a weird trajectory, but for people who have eating disorders and food problems and food addictions, so I used to go years ago to a 12-step group for people with eating addictions called Overeaters Anonymous, which is like every other 12-step group. And I remember saying something in that group about how I just feel responsible for everything bad that happens. And it's not like a delusional, like I'm schizophrenic and I've had a break with reality. So like I literally think that I caused the war in Afghanistan. It's not like that. But somehow I just feel this responsibility that I need to fix everything and save everything. So this other older woman spoke up who, you know, is there in an Overeaters Anonymous meeting, and she was older, and she said when she was growing up, she thought that she was responsible for World War II. And that sounds really silly. Like, why as a child would you think that? And then other people spoke up talking about how they also had this overwhelming sense of responsibility for what bad was going on in the world. I don't know what that is in our psyche, and I don't really know what the possible connection that it is to people who have food addictions. Maybe because you have that sense of responsibility and it causes so much anxiety, you need to calm yourself with a whole lot of food. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it surprised me at the time when other people were saying, yes, I feel that way too, because I always thought that I was the only one who ever felt that way. I mean,
To me, that sounds like you are holding the weight of society, which all of society should carry that weight, and we should all work together to improve life so there isn't a World War II, so there isn't wars, so we're all responsible for creating the world. But it appears that you are taking on much more than one person should be taking on. Like, you feel that weight all on you rather than all of society.
well, all I can say is luckily there are people who are a lot smarter than I am addressing these problems, because
They're not doing very
that's, well, I know, it's one thing I've learned is I can't really fix anything for anybody.
No, but you still feel that weight. The weight that should be spread around to all of us.
You know why maybe? Okay, let's psychoanalyze me right now. Okay, so
Ted Bundy did not feel that weight.
Ted Bundy did not feel the weight of the world? No, I don't think he did.
He was doing bad things to people. You can't feel that weight. So maybe some people get more weight, and like you're holding his and 1,000 other people.
So like all the serial killers who aren't taking responsibility for their actions and their place in the world, like somehow I am feeling their...
Yeah.
Well, that's super.
It's an undue burden.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the axe murderers, but like the people that don't feel any compassion or for society, any that don't feel any weight. I know what that weight is. It's a weight where everyone has to do their share, just like in World War II. That famous English saying, I did my part. Everyone has to do their part, but not everybody does.
True. Okay, now we're going to go back into infancy, you know, because all of our psychological problems obviously go back to pre-infancy, to the womb.
Dianetics, yeah.
Well, no, what I'm seeing... Okay, now I know a lot of people out there have been adopted and they're not going to have these same like psychological issues surrounding adoption that I might have. Like my brother's adopted and he doesn't have these issues. But for me, my being adopted was a fact. And then it comes down to how do I interpret that? And I know intellectually that adoption is a wonderful thing. I was an adoption social worker for years. I mean, it's a great way of forming a family. I get that. Intellectually, I have no problems or concerns with that. But on an emotional level, for me, being adopted, my emphasis was not on, oh, somebody wanted me so much. It was... For me to be adopted, somebody had to not want me so much. Edit out the crying. You know, I had this guy I was friends with in college. one time said to me, he said, Amy, I could say to you, I love your sculptures. I don't care for your paintings that much, but I really love your sculptures. And you wouldn't hear anything about how much I like your sculptures. All you would hear is, he doesn't like my paintings. Why doesn't he like my paintings? I'm clearly I'm clearly a worthless, useless person and a terrible artist because he doesn't like my paintings. Because I've always, whatever input comes into my life, I focus on the most negative interpretation possible. So, in terms of being adopted, some people are going to look at it as, oh, somebody wanted me so badly, but I always have looked at it in terms of somebody didn't want me that badly, and that somebody is the one person on the planet who's supposed to want you. So then you have to say to yourself, wow, what was so wrong with me that even as a little baby, my own mother didn't want me? So then that leads to feeling like,
that's not true. You were an inconvenience.
Intellectually, I know it's true, but I'm telling you, there's a difference.
There's nothing to do with
in my, what I understand intellectually and where I am emotionally is different. So you're led to thinking, I'm not really supposed to be here. I don't deserve to be here like other people do. So I have to earn my space on this planet. Like I'm not as deserving as other people. So I have to earn it. And how else am I going to earn it? But by somehow sacrificing myself to help other people or to fix other people's problems. Maybe that's where this feeling of responsibility comes from. Like you don't have that, you have compassion, you're a decent person, but you don't have that overwhelming sense of, I don't really belong here, so I need to earn my place on this planet.
I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Like you've never felt that.
Never.
I don't think I've
never even crossed my mind.
I know. I've never not felt that. And I know the circumstances of why I was surrendered for adoption. I understand that my birth mother was 19 and in college. It's not like I blame her. I don't blame anybody who surrenders a child for adoption because they know they're doing the best they can to give that child a good life somewhere else.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What if your mother died in a car accident and they delivered you? Then what?
That would be a dramatic story. Well, that would be different. That would be different.
Why would it be different? It's
because
the same thing. Your mother's not there anymore.
It's the same
someone wants you.
Yeah, it's the same outcome in terms of you're raised by someone else, but there isn't the same emotional interpretation because you weren't given up because she didn't want you.
So
you were raised by somebody else because she's dead. Well, that is different. It's different.
It's
and
a
you
different
know it's different. That's why, in the world of adoption now, they're all about openness and explaining to kids about their adoption. And there's obviously adoptions where you can never hide the fact that a child's adopted. If you have an interracial adoption, it's going to be obvious. If you have a gay couple raising children, somebody's adopted somebody. One of the parents could be a biological parent, but one of them's not. There are going to be times where it's obvious, but then sometimes I think, and this flies in the face of the current wisdom about adoption, but a lot of times I've thought, if you're adopted as an infant, as I was, by people who look enough like me, if I wasn't told I was adopted, I'd never know that. And then maybe I would never, ever have had any of the psychological repercussions of knowing I was adopted. I wouldn't have this abandonment complex that I've had my whole life. And I wouldn't have had this sense of worthlessness. And you know what I mean? Like if I didn't know, so I was adopted, but if I didn't know that, than all the emotions that go with knowing it. You know, you have the cognitive reality, you have the fact, and then you have how you emotionally interpret it. And I wouldn't have had that interpretation. And not that it's really always good to keep secrets about stuff like that, because they'll tell you if you try to keep a kid's adoption secret, somebody in the family eventually at a barbecue is going to say something and the kid's going to find out. So better sooner rather than later. But I bet my parents could have pulled it off as a secret, but they were open and honest about it. I mean, I always knew. I can't remember them ever telling me because I always knew. I just always knew. Now, I also always thought, having been adopted as an infant and never having known as an older child that never having known my birth mother as an older child. Like, older kids getting adopted have a whole different sense of loss and grief because they're losing a mother they actually knew. I thought that I never experienced that, having been surrendered at birth. But I was talking to this guy who did some trainings for us back when I was a social worker for the state, and he said that absolutely an infant being removed from the birth mother is experienced as a trauma for the infant, and it impacts how the brain develops. I never really would have thought it would, because you're a baby and you're taken and like you're handed to somebody. Oh, there's mom. Like, you don't know whose vajuzzle you came out of and whose hands you're being placed into. But he said that absolutely a baby's going to perceive that as trauma. I don't know. What was the point of all that?
Well, think about it though.
Anyway,
like, if
wouldn't it be better to be happy and live in the moment? Oh yeah, it probably would. Have you always had a really strong sense of self-esteem? Have you always loved yourself?
Where are we going?
We're going to IKEA. Did you just pass it?
I don't know.
Oh.
Was that it?
I don't know. I wasn't paying any attention.
Exit 18?
So wrapped up in myself. I don't know. You're the driver. I wasn't looking. Maybe. Anyway, have you always had a strong sense of self-esteem?
Yes.
What was that based on?
That everyone's worthy of being here.
But as a little kid, you thought that?
Yeah.
And when your parents said to you stuff like, "Good job, great picture, you're awesome, little Dwayne, you're the best, you can do anything," like, you believed that? Because when my parents told me stuff like that, which they did all the time, my parents were always trying to build up my self-esteem. I never believed that. I never believed a word of it. I was like, well, yeah, parents have to say that. Oh, yeah. Like, even as a little kid. Like, our little kids, our twins, when they go to a playground and there are stranger children there, they'll just go right up to them and start playing with them. They'll just go and introduce themselves and, hey, you say, you want to play? You want to be my friend? And they'll just start to play, no issue. And that blows my mind, because even as a little kid, at no point in my life, from being little kid to now, could I go up to strangers and just go, "Hi, I'm Amy, you want to play?" I never could have done that as a little kid. Never in a million years. Because as a child at a playground looking at other children, my automatic assumption would be, they're not going to want to play with me. Why would they want to be my friend? I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to go up and just hand myself over to be rejected. I would never do that. Like, if my grandmother took me to the playground and said, "Go over, play with the other kids," I'd be like, "Are you drunk? Like, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that?" Never would I do that. I would never enter a situation with the assumption that the people there would actually welcome me and want me. And given a lot of the negative comments we've gotten on these videos about my voice and how irritating and awful and horrible and mean and bitchy I am, well, maybe I was right. I really do just need to put my head in the sand and crawl into my little hidey hole.
Or you could listen to the thousands of good comments.
They're just saying that because they're compassionate. Well, anyway, people, we've almost arrived at our destination, so time to sign off from this super fun, I want to say enlifting. That's not a word. Elevating? What word am I looking for?
La la
La la la la. La 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 la. How it's brought us all up to a happier, higher place. Cheerful, wonderful. So try to enjoy the moment, people. Try to be happy. Try to love yourself. You're the only you've got. What can I say?
You only get one. You get one life. You get one you.
Go for it. I can't imagine anybody's made it quite this far, but if you have, thanks for watching, and thank you for this therapy session I've been able to share with you. And I really think that if I could afford it, I'd be an alcoholic right now, because I could really use a drink. But I can't afford it because I'm too frugal to become an alcoholic. But I have often thought, I don't know how alcoholics do afford it, but I feel like if I could afford it, I'd be drinking right now. What is it? Oh, it's about 9:30 in the morning. Well,
I have a bottle hidden
time
in the
for a
back.
cocktail somewhere.
A couple of them, I think.
What?
A couple bottles
Of
hidden.
what?
I don't know. Whatever. Drinks? Alcohol.
Boone's
Farm.
Farms.
Strawberry wine.
Wine coolers, maybe. All right. See y'all next time.